Welcome today from different circumstances that I was planning, but life is always full of surprises. So today I have a pleasure. Oh yes, hello Isa. Do you see me? I have a pleasure to talk with Isa. Okay, Izabela Podgajna about recall healing. Last week was in Polish and there was so much interest that we decided to talk a little bit about recall healing in English. So Isa, I cannot really see you. Maybe let's just let's just try one more time. Accept. Yeah, I can see you soon. Yeah, I want you to be live too. Oh, you're unable to join. Why is it so? Okay.
Hey,
Maybe try. Oh yes, no, finally,
it's
beautiful.
working.
Thank you. It's working. Beautiful. Okay, so this is Izabela Podgajna,
Hi, everyone.
holistic therapist working with different modalities, actually mostly with traditional psychology, but she's excited about recall healing. So I'm excited too. So let's talk a little bit about recall healing. I just mentioned that we had this beautiful conversation last week, and it was really very impressive. Everybody was so happy, and so I hope that we can just dive a little bit into the subject again, and then have now some some new insight, because I feel recall healing is not really something what's really well known. Even it's coming from Canada, no? So tell us a little bit more about recall healing.
Absolutely. So, hi, everyone. I'm Izabela Podgajna. So, as Joanna already introduced me to, I'm working with the traditional psychology, as I do have a background in psychology and pedagogy. But before I found out what the recall healing is, it was very hard for me to find this connection, and we were sticking only in our head. That's how we were trying to solve the issue or working on trauma. So finally, when I just found out what the recall healing is, when I started diving in and just learning about it, I just really found the huge and beautiful connection between your mind and your body, that it's really so important if we were talking about releasing the trauma or releasing and working on any kind of diseases. So that was my understanding at the beginning. It was my huge passion, and I just started to learning more and more, and finally I just become the facilitator. I just finished the International Institute of the Lyrical Healing, created by Dr. Gilbert Renaud. He's basically he's a Canadian, but as you already said, this method is not very well known, either or in Canada or in States. In North America, in general, the more it's very popular in Poland, in Russia, in the Ukraine as well, and Israel. And we all know what's going on with the big pharma and everything, right? They're not very pleased with the new methods and methodologies and all the modalities that can really help and heal you, and just really help you to change the quality of your life, because that's not what they want, right? So it already started with the founder, basically, of the recall healing, Dr. Hamer, who basically lost the right of doing and just creating his job and being a doctor, thanks to his research and working with the recall healing. So it just started years back, and it's based and it's founded basically on the new German medicine, starting with the Dr. Hammer. He just started everything, and it just started with, as we all know, there's no situations without the resolution and stuff like that. So he just started with his personal tragedy when his son was shot and he died, and finally he developed the disease of a cancer. So he started to finding out what's going on, why he is sick, why the disease just like shown up in his life. That's how he started diving in a little bit more into his emotional side of the job, and that's how he also found out and created his 5 laws of the disease of the nature. So basically, that's how it started. Then he had the beautiful student who was Dr. Sabbath, and he just like added on a huge amount of knowledge and the researches about the microbes and the bacteria, how they really help us in our life and in our disease, how they help us to heal. And finally, Dr. Renaud, he was one of the students of Dr. Sabbath. So basically, he just like caught everything into one piece. He just added up his own research and his own basically years of experience. He just like thought about everything like as a recall healing, and he was the creator of the whole recall healing methodology. So that's how it was based. But I was having a huge pleasure and a huge honor to be a student of the Dr. Michelle LaMasa Dawson, who was working, and she's one of the closest friends of Dr. Gilbert Renaud, and she's one of the founder of the Institute in States. She's teaching over there. She's also teaching in Poland. That's how we met, and that's how we just like started working together. So it was like a whole journey about that and how this has started. But the whole recall healing is the method, the methodology that basically it's based on bringing what's unaware, what's in our subconscious to the awareness. It's telling us how the emotions, how our deep hidden traumas really have effect in our biological body, in our everyday life. So it was funny because I was even thinking like, even your situation right now, it's like a beautiful analogy how like, it's not about creating this amazing perfect space, going to Tibet to meditate. It's about like everyday momentum to stop and actually think about something what's important. Same with the biology. There's nothing we can lie about. There's nothing we can fool. There's nothing we can pretend. It's just the pure biology. It's just like our brain, our automatic brain that is trying to keep us alive from moment to moment. So there's nothing we can just do over here, like in purpose, that we're trying to fool our brain. He will always like think and do everything what's best for us to keep us alive. Which in recall healing means that the disease is the best solution of our brain. That's a completely different perspective, a completely different approach than from any other one. Because we usually think, okay, I'm sick, so this is not something what's good. We really don't want to be sick, right? We just really want to be healthy, and that's what we all do to work on any kind of like meditations or working on healthy eating or like working out. We're always trying to make our life easier and better and healthier. But like we never thought from this perspective that the disease is actually the best solution of our brain to keep us alive from moment to moment. And this is the
So
best
tell us
solution.
more. Tell us more. How is the sickness perceived by total biology? Because we actually talk about recall healing. So maybe if you could explain us that, because the recall healing is like the top cover. There is the portion of recall healing is the total biology, and then the new German medicine of Dr. Hamer, and then what else? Like,
And also the
how was this
Chinese
actually
medicine.
created?
It's also based on the Chinese medicine. It's also based on the old Kabbalah and all the informations from the Hebrew language, from the sign from the 22 letters that they are also from the tarot. So there's a lot of like really a lot of like many places where we're taking the knowledge and adding them up, and when we're doing the research by many people, it's also like touching the ancestral and the our generational trauma that has also impact in our life, in our disease, and it can be like the pattern that we are multiplicating throughout our lives. So it has a lot of like fundamentals and a lot of knowledge throughout the years. So the basic of the recall healing, as we know, is like we were basing on the Dr. Hamer's experience and his discoveries. when he finally, when he just gave us the 5 laws of the disease, of the nature, when he's thinking and when he taught us that the emotional trauma, that the emotional conflict, that couldn't be processed on our psyche, has
Okay.
to be downloaded to the biology, our body. So basically, our psyche can be released and we can survive. He's talking about the triad, the rocket triad of the body, which means the psyche, our like head, our experience, our discoveries, everything what we're going through our life. Because everything, even the emotional conflict, is only based on our personal feeling, based on our experience, on how we are experiencing the conflict that we are going through right now in our life. Because like the same situation can be completely different and on a completely different level for many people. Like one, it's going to be taken as a huge and serious like conflict, when the same situation for the other person will be absolutely like nothing than just something okay, something serious, unpleasant, but it's not going to be so touchy and deep. So our perspective, the way how we see the world, the way everything what happened to us in our life, everything what we experience, what kind of wounds we have, the environment when we were like living, the parents who were raising us, like the country when we we're living, everything, all of those factors, they have a huge impact who we are, who are we becoming, and how we see the world. So basically, about
So what's the support of recall healing in any healing process? Because I understand that we usually react when we are sick. Okay, so when we are in crisis, we look for help, and the regular way is, of course, the conventional medicine we always first grab, and then consider as something what's our base, I would say. So I understand that recall healing can very nicely actually cooperate with the conventional medicine in order to support the healing process. But tell us a little bit more. What's the influence of recall healing on specific sickness? Like how do we use the method? Like how you actually work with the patient?
So in recall healing, we're talking about 2 phases of the sickness. So we're talking about the active phase, when we're actually in a conflict, when something really bad, something really traumatic happened to us, and we are sitting in our psyche. So we're thinking about that. We can't sleep. We can't eat. Everything is just all about the thinking about the process. What happened? How can I find the solution? How can this impact my life? So we're staying in this state. We're thinking and thinking and thinking over and over and over. So it's called the active conflict phase. It's also called the cold phase, when we are getting cold, when probably we can't sleep, we can't eat. The whole energy our body and our mind consuming, it's for like processing the conflict and the issue we have in our head. So that's the active phase of the conflict. And then as soon as we're going to find the solution of this conflict, and it can be physical solution, that something just passes, or we're changing the job, or somebody's dying, or something happened like physical, but also in our mind, if we are finding the solution for this upcoming conflict that it was like troubling us for so long, this is the message for our brain that, hey, listen, you don't have to process this information anymore. You don't have to think over and over and over and over and just like consume so much energy. You can just let it go and you can start healing yourself. Because in the first active phase, we don't feel it, but on the biological level, there is going on the tissue level, there is some changes in our body, either or depending from the part of the brain when the conflict is located, either or there is the multiplication of the tissues of the cells or ulcerations of the cells. So there is a situation and there is a process happening in our body. That's the best solution of our brain to help you to solve the conflict, that it stays in your psyche all the time. But as soon as we, let's say, found the solution and we don't have to be in this conflict anymore, because we can see this white light at the end of the tunnel and we can see, okay, I don't have to think about that. I know what I'm going to do next. That's the message from our brain. Okay, you don't have to help me anymore. I'm not going to spend this amount of the energy anymore to think about the conflict. So let's start healing. And we call this in recall healing the healing phase, which is warm phase, the hot phase. many times like actually showing them itself as the disease and as actual side effects of this process of processing the
And we
conflict.
suppress this many times. No, we
Absolutely.
actually take drugs to suppress it because we feel this is how it's supposed to be. And we don't have the trust to really let it unfold it and let it fully clear it.
Because we
Okay?
were never asked, and nobody even ever taught us that, okay, there is a reason why we are getting sick. We were taught that, okay, you just got cold, probably was the weather was wrong, the bacteria are wrong, the viruses or something that are attacking you and making you being sick. We always knew that the stress causing, and I'm just adding up a lot, but there was so many
Mm-hmm.
other reasons why we were getting sick. Nobody just dived in so strongly and deeply until Dr. Hamer started doing his research, like thinking that, okay, there has to be something more. Because his story is like basically that he developed the testicle cancer after his son just died. He was shot and he died, the long story short. But he was a doctor, so he really knew that there's no any underlying reasons why he can be sick, because he was eating healthy. He wasn't having any like genes or like previous like diseases from the previous generations that he could just got the generational trauma from there. He knew that he did everything okay. There was no reason for him to be sick on this kind of disease. So he was like, okay, there has to be something more underneath why I got sick. So he just correlated everything with the stressful situation that had happened in his life. And thanks to that he was practicing with the patients, he started to asking the patients what happened just right before they just got sick or throughout their life, what kind of traumas, what situations they were experiencing. He just started to asking those questions that nobody else previously did, because they were just doing the regular tests, the regular blood tests, some scans, maybe the tomography or the MRI, something like that. And then they were just giving you the pills or the solution that the regular medicine knew. He just started to going like a little bit deeper into the emotional side of that. And he noticed that every single patient he had, especially those oncological patients with a cancer diagnosis, they were going through extremely high stress. And when he started to analyzing their brain scans, he also noticed that there is a small circles, we're calling them bullseyes. When you can see on those scans, like the small circles, he called them the Dirk Hammer syndrome. Like those are when basically the conflict was downloaded and it was just kept in the brain that we can actually visualize and we can see it. And this was actually just showing us what kind of tissue will be affected through this conflict. So he started doing his research more and more and more. He just went through thousands of the patients and their cases. So he finally found out that, okay, underlying conflict that I had when my son was like dying was that I was trying to help him to survive. Because my lineage of our like family, you're the only son. Like without you, our like clan will not be extended. We will be for our brain, especially for the men, just giving your genes, just like passing all your semen and just like allowing yourself to create more life and just extend your clan. That's the general brain function and the general brain idea that we have to survive. That's his general like function, and it has to do it, because without that our clan is gonna will not survive and we're gonna be dead. The whole clan will be dead. So for his brain, this kind of conflict was like way too strong and was way too heavy. So what the brain did, best solution, because we have to remember that the brain will do everything to keep you alive. So the best brain solution was, I'm going to download this conflict on the biological level. I'm going to support you. I'm going to help you. And he was starting to hyperactivity of his gland, of his testicles, giving him extra strength to his semen, because that's how I can support you, my son. That's how I can make you stronger so you can survive and you can extend our clan. And then when he's
No, no, go ahead. Go
and
ahead.
then when
Yeah.
his son died, technically, for the brain, the conflict was over. Here we had the tragedy, the human tragedy and the family tragedy, because they lost the son. But for the brain, For the doctor's hammer brain, the conflict was solved. Because the reason why I had to produce the extra and hyper strong semen was you, my son, because you were dying. He finally died. Unfortunately, nobody was able to help him. So then his brain said, okay, I don't have to help you anymore. I don't have to support you anymore. So let's go to healing phase right now, because we have to fix what was over and hyperproducity when you were going through this conflict. So right now, that's how he found out the symptoms. That's how he learned about his diagnose. Because even when the clients are coming to me, like we always start with a diagnose. That's why it's not about like, just dropping off the regular medicine, the traditional medicine, or just being like the enemy. Nothing about that. It's about cooperating and just working together. Because knowing for me, the knowledge I have from the diagnose, I can know exactly which part of the brain was affected, what kind of tissue. And then it's much easier for me to locate whether you're in an active phase or you're already in a healing phase. Because healing phase, even though it just sounds healing, so it's supposed to sound nice and cool, but it's actually giving you the symptoms, and many times you feel pain. You feel the inflammation, you have the high temperature, and that's how what kind of symptoms we're experiencing on a biological level. And we think, oh my goodness, like this is something wrong with me, like something is going on. I have to right away take the medications. I have to take this. If this is a cancer, we're going through chemo, we're going through this, but nobody thinks, okay, but this is the healing phase. So let me support my body right now. Having this knowledge and this perspective, we are not panicking. We're not treating disease as a absolutely death sentence.
As a death sentence, exactly.
We're coming to this knowledge completely differently, because if somebody's, let's say you get the diagnosis of the cancer, and this expert, the doctor who you really trust, is telling you like, listen, you got three months left in your life. This is something that, first of all, creating another conflict of diagnose, because we are start getting this huge fear of our life and of our death. But on top of that, like we basically, it's a death sentence. Like, what can I do? I have like 3 months of life. If I would know that basically this is the healing phase, and right now I'm supposed to do this and this and this and that, how can I support my life? How can I support my body? How can I work on the emotional level to support my physical healing? That would change a lot in many lives. There's no deadly disease. Yes, people are dying because their body is extremely exhausted. They don't have the resources anymore to fight the disease, or the disease or the conflict were way too long. So our body already doesn't have this amount of the energy to heal itself. But there's no deadly disease whatsoever. We do have this natural ability of healing ourselves with the resources that we're supposed to have. Because here we have the bacteria, the microbes, that they are helping in our body to either or dissolve, let's say, the tumor we evolved throughout the active phase of the conflict, or just to fill out the ulcerations that they became, and let's say we start having the mucousy cough. This is the healing phase. Having this knowledge, we are approaching the disease completely differently. First of all, without the stress. And second of all, like really taking this disease as a kind of a message that there is something behind that there is some kind of emotions that I never touched. That wasn't, I didn't want to really like know that they are even existing, that they are suppressed somewhere down there because they are
this is my question. This is what actually came to me. So we can actually have two different approaches. Like once we know about once we know about those type of modalities, we can actually get more trust into our body, that the body is actually really able to process the sickness, which we actually feel it's deadly, is a death sentence sometimes. But more trust we have, and more actually, I would say, support, because the support from both sides, from the conventional medicine and then from all those alternative modalities, which are really now coming pretty strong. This is one way. I mean, like when we are already in a phase of really being sick. But I would say having the knowledge that the release of the emotion is so important, we can actually avoid to really get sick once we tackle the emotions. So once we
Absolutely.
really release what is coming up. Yes, okay,
Absolutely.
so
If this knowledge would be given to people or even to the children, since they are growing up and they start understanding
yeah.
how the emotions are working and how our body works and how to release and just work on our body mind medicine, there won't be a people sick. Of course, like they will, because like, you know, the based on our like experience and stuff like that, there still will be the sick people,
There's
but
generational trauma when we have
absolutely,
ancestors still playing a
absolutely,
huge role as
yes,
well. Yes, I know. But
yes,
I really feel that we are actually coming into a phase where people are starting to be more aware that it's really beautiful mechanism, the body. It's really knowing what it's doing. So, and then allowing really to be in connection with our mind and body and spirit. This union is really helping us to avoid those difficult situations where we really have to go into sicknesses like cancer, where we feel like this is like ultimately the end of our lives. But it's really a
absolutely.
process which we may have sometimes many times in our lives.
Absolutely. And I feel like we just start getting trust ourselves more and more. Because before
Yes.
there was a medicine, before there was a doctors, it was a natural medicine. It was a Chinese medicine. We were trusting more than nature. Our grandmas, our great grandmas, they were really
Mm.
like using the herbs. They were using the natural remedies to help themselves. They were really connected to the nature, the beautiful Eastern world that just gave us so much greats and goods and just like cut us off completely from ourselves, because they just like start like garbaging our brain with like the
Mm.
TV, with the free time, with giving us everything on a plate, that we don't have to ask the questions. We don't have to think what's good, what's bad. We were just getting the pill for everything. You want to get skinny? Get the pill. You want to get this? Get this. You're hungry? Go for a fast food. Everything is fast and acceptable, and everything is like just right around the corner. You don't have to think about much things around right now in nowadays world. So
Mm.
I found like right now we're just like start getting back more to ourselves. We just like start get trusting ourselves more and more. We're looking for new modalities. We just like found out that okay, maybe I think especially the COVID time just like verified a lot. It just showed for some people, it really showed that this is like nothing but BS being given us, like it's like an IQ test. I like to calling it IQ test. Whoever just like experienced everything and was able to divide what's truth and what's really like the fake news, they really move up and they just went and just like stop believing in everything what the TV says and stop believing in everything what was giving it to us as the knowledge that we're supposed to get. Start going back to us and asking ourselves, because we do have the knowledge, we do have the intuition, we really know what to
Yes,
do.
we
We
need
were
to tune in. We need to tune in.
Yeah.
This is how does your session looks like? If you could just maybe give us a small taste of
Mhm.
how does it look like? What do you need from a patient? So someone is coming to you, let's say, with some issues, and so basically, of course, more information the person is bringing, it's all obviously better. But how does it work for you? It's like what's
Mhm.
the next step? So once someone is there with a diagnosis,
Mhm.
what
So
happens?
I always start with them sending the questionnaire to the client before the first session, because this questionnaire has a lot of like informations for me,
Mm-hmm.
what's bringing the person to me, what kind of issues they have, what kind of diagnose. There's a lot of like questions about the ancestors line. So
Okay.
who was your ancestors, your family tree, but also about the time that we call healing the project purpose. This is the time when our parents, our mom was pregnant with us. This is the 30 months that we're taking into consideration, like looking how our brain might be projected and how might be programmed, so we can carry something what doesn't belong to us, and how huge impact it can have on our everyday life, even our adult life,
Mm-hmm.
without even our knowledge. So having all those informations when the patient is coming to me, the first the first session is about creating his life timeline. So basically we're starting from putting on the lines on the lifetime from his age. We're putting all the information and the situation that it was hard for him in his life, that it was very important, but also the diagnose. And using the cycle and the math laws, we're dividing the disease by 2, by 3, by 5, trying to find the cycles in your life. And it can be the cycle of the repeatable situations in your life, but also the emotions that they are repeating. And by finding those cycles, many times we're finding the first root cause of the disease. When many times you're just lying down somewhere very, very far away in our childhood or even before we were born. So this is the first way what we're doing. So we're just like looking for the timeline, and we're putting all the informations on it. Then we're working on the project purpose. We're trying to find out as much as we can. And for me, knowing the disease, I know the conflict underlying the disease. So we're looking for all the situations. Let's say if the patient is coming to me with the breast cancer, I know that the breasts are the symbol and they are responsible for our nest, for our family. So depending on in which brain breast we do have the tumor, or is the milk ducts, I do know what kind of questions to ask the patient, so we can actually find those conflicts and we can really start solving and releasing them from their life. Many times, like only the bringing to the awareness that something like that, this conflict can be a cause, one of the causes of your disease, is bringing so much release already on the session, that then releasing it and working on the letting go exercises is just the next part. But the first part, the awareness, because like the Dr. Jung, he was saying that what's not brought to our awareness, it's always coming as our destiny. So it doesn't really matter how much and how strong we're going to suppress something, how much we want to forget about the situation, what happened to us in our life, especially those early years, sometimes like very early or in the early childhood. Doesn't really matter. We cannot wipe them off. We cannot erase them. Even though if they are suppressed and just pushed down deep down, they're going to start like asking for the attention in many situations throughout our life. That's why disease, that's why any conflict and any even hard situations in our life, as much as unpleasant they are, in recall healing in my life, I treat them as the messages for us, as those gifts that finally they are coming to us and telling us, hey, listen, just touch this. There is something behind that. What kind of trauma still needs to be released? What happened to you? Without judgment, without opinionating, because it's not about blaming our parents or blaming anybody in our life or in our ancestor line. It's nothing about that. It's just the awareness that, okay, it's coming from here. It's coming from there. Maybe it's not even mine. So what can I do with that? So we're working on the project purpose. Then we're working on the family tree. Many times we don't know so much. Like our parents, they don't want to share the information. We always start working on what we have, on what kind of information you have. And it's not about like the dates, who was born when or who died when. It's more about the stories behind our ancestors' life. So especially behind our grandparents, great-grandparents, because those are the closest people to us. And also we're looking on something that we called invisible loyalties, and also the numerological loyalties. So basically we're looking on the number of the birth order number. So if I said I was born as a first in my family, as a first child, and we're taking into consideration here all the abortions and the miscarriages as well. So if I was a first child in my family, I'm looking at every other person in my family who was born as first, and we're looking if there's some kind of stories that they are repeating, if maybe there is something that is showing up in their life that it wasn't ended, it wasn't finished, it wasn't like completed, that it's showing up in my life. Because those stories, those mysteries, they are not disappearing. They are always asking for the attention. They are always asking for being like released and being like noticed. So they're gonna come in the next generation. So as much work as we do, as much as we release, and even if we had this much trauma and we're gonna pass that much, we did a great job, because we already healed something that our children and our grandchildren will not have to do that. and they will not have to go through.
So basically, you can tell that the whole procedure is actually going towards releasing the thorn. Like, let's say when we have a wound, we really need to take this thorn away, because otherwise the wound will not heal. So you really are looking for the root of the problem, for the root of the disease. And and this is something what I noticed recently. I just struggle with plantar fasciitis, and I noticed that we always receive support in treating the symptoms, but not really reaching towards what is actually the root of this this misalignment. So I mean, it's pretty strong. And did you have situation where I mean, like, how do you know if the patients are recovering? Are you in contact with them? Is this like is this a constant cooperation, or is it a one-time visit? How does it look?
Usually, like because I do have a clients who I work with already for a year or even more, but we're working on many, like it depends from the story, but we can
Okay.
just work on many levels. But usually, just to go to the core of the issue, just to find the core of the conflict laying down underneath the disease, and also giving the solutions and the exercise, the letting go exercise, and like solutions how to release them from body, because the awareness is the 40% of the healing phase, but the rest it's what we're gonna do with this awareness, how we're gonna deal with that. Because just because I know something, I know that to have a six-pack, I'm supposed to go and work out, and of course, like not to eat sweets and this and that. But just from this knowledge, I don't have a six-pack. I would really actually
Action is
physically
needed.
go and start working out, right? The knowledge is not everything. We actually have to do something. So usually like the beginning is like 4 to 6 sessions to find
Okay.
out the root cause. And then if the client would like to like continue with all those, because what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to teach and give you the tools. That's why I like to call, and we all call the recall healing as the educational program. We're not a therapist, we're not a doctors, we're not trying to give you or just assign you as I'm your guru and just come to me with every single question. We're trying to educate the people and give them the tools that they can actually start working with that on everyday basis, because we will have the issues. It's not like if we're going to clear the trauma from the past, if we're going to clear the trauma that was very strong and like very hard for us, it doesn't mean that tomorrow life is not going to like slap us in the face with something new. It's alive. It's a planet Earth. We just came here to experience, to discover. So we will be facing the challenges on every daily basis. So I'm trying to give the tools how you can work with your knowledge, with knowing what you already know about the two phases of the sickness, about the conflicts behind laying down, about releasing, how to work and prevent, and how to release on every daily basis the stress of the daily life, so you don't have to get sick. Because if we can keep the conflict on our psychological level, it will not be downloaded to the biology. If we can only keep it in our head, so we can just.
So what's the best time? What's the best moment? What's the best time to actually really consider your services? I mean, like to really start to work with you. Like when I understand that usually when there is something traumatic happening in life,
That's what
because we
usually is, because
know,
we even go to the doctor when we really start feeling the pain, right? When nothing is
yes,
happening, when we don't experience something on the biological level that it actually start bothering us, many times like this pebble in the shoe, like we walk with that, we walk with that, we walk with that, it's bothering us, but until it's really bleeding and it's just causing us this huge pain, we're not going anywhere. So usually like 85% or maybe even 90% are the people and the clients who are coming to me with the actual diagnose that we're starting about the really truly biological issue that we have to face and like find the root cause behind that and to release the emotions. But sometimes it also can be the situation that they are repeating in your life. It's also like I do have a clients who are coming with, let's say, the relationships that they are repeatedly the same. So he was cheating on me, and the next one cheated on me, or this was drinking, and this one is
yes,
addicted from the
obviously,
out. It's
ancestors.
all the same. It's just like, the story of my life is the same. It's just the actors are changing. So the people are changing, but the story, I just keep repeating the same mistakes. So this is also something that we are working. So it's very dependent, it's very various, but usually it's when we actually like start feeling something and we do have the disease. because we don't bother ourselves before. We're just like having so much, like the life is so fast. You have to stand up, work, go to work, kids, everything, like cooking, like shopping. And it's
Autopilot.
January and then it's
Hmm.
February and already like
Yeah.
December, right? The life
On
is so
autopilot.
fast. And we're not stopping. We're not creating. We're never taught that it's good to create the space for yourself that you can just step back and actually daily. And that's why I love what you're doing with this 21 day of the challenges, when you actually like making actually people to step back and just give yourself a moment in a daily life to ask yourself, or to release or to release something that it was bothering you, or even just to stop and breathe. This is so much that we're not doing it.
This is what we actually are not taught, and I feel is like complete base. Mindfulness, it's something what we actually need on daily basis. Actually, I would even say it should be taught in the kindergarten, because
Absolutely.
what you said, we are so detached, we are so disconnected from ourselves that we don't even know how to get back. So
But
this
that's
is why
also
we are
something
getting into
that's,
this.
but
Yeah.
this connection, this is also something that's the best brain solution. Because
Mm,
our brain, it doesn't really care what's happened. Yes, like what's going to happen tomorrow. How do you feel? How many people you have around you? He doesn't really care about all those things. The brain's main function is to keep you alive from moment to moment. So if
mhm,
your brain feels that, okay, it's going to be much easier for you not to feel, not to be connected with yourself because your trauma. And it's really usually takes to the people who just experience the sexual traumas, who were like really like experiencing that kind of like heavy,
mhm,
very heavy
mhm.
stuff. It's
This is why
much
they are
easier and
disconnected.
better to be disconnected, because if I will have
Yeah.
to connect with my emotions, I would simply die. For your brain, it's not important. He really wanted to keep you alive. That's why he will keep you disconnected for so long until
Mm.
it's too much.
But I would say we all go towards the release. Anything what is happening currently in our life pushes us towards really having closer look for those little stones in the shoes, as you said. And I feel whatever you do is actually really creating the support in really touching those painful moments in our lives, which eventually can develop in really strong sicknesses. And this is not something what we definitely wanna experience in our life. Tell me, Isa, how do you work with children as well? Do you?
Usually I work with parents, because when we
Uh-huh.
talk about the children, especially until the age of 6, and even a little bit long, like older until 10, they are extremely strongly connected, especially with moms. And they, because of this invisible loyalty call, and because of the
Mm-hmm.
project purpose time, many times they carry our conflicts and our emotions, trying to
Mm-hmm.
help us as
Yeah.
parents, because they know that, okay, we gave them birth, we are parents, like we owe them something for the life they gave us. So mommy, daddy, I'm going to do everything just to help you and to carry your heaviness, that it's too heavy for you. So when the parents are coming to me with the children's issues, I always start working with them. If the children, like we're talking about the teenagers and the older kids and the very young adolescents, like that's how I start working with them, if they're willing. So but usually with the young children, we're looking for the issues always with the parents, and we start
Mm-hmm.
from the project purpose, because that's the period of time when we're projecting our conflicts, because our unfinished businesses, the psychological conflicts of parents, will be downloaded and become biological conflict of the child. That's why. And it's not about, very important thing over here, it's not about blaming ourselves that we have a child who's sick and this is our fault.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
more about like thinking that if I'm going to find out what might be the cause, emotional cause behind my child's disease, and how can I change and reverse that? Because our brain is extremely plastic. It's like a computer. We can really erase everything and just like program it again. There are ways to do and work with that. So having this knowledge can really change and bring back the health and the quality of lives for our children. So that's extremely important. So we start always working with the parents and with their conflicts that usually are underlying the disease of the children.
Mm-hmm. And is there any clearing process on once you finish the session? How does it look like? Well, what happens after the session? Once you know the exact reason of the sickness, once you actually are coming to the conscious information after the session, what happens after?
So then we're going to the releasing exercises, and there's a lot of methods.
Oh,
and whatever you're
perfect.
starting working with your body, it also has to be connected with your mind. So we can use the meditations, and I love to work with the radical forgiveness, the calling tipping method. It's amazing because, like, usually when we talk about any kind of disease, anger, fear, grudge, not letting go of something, hate, those are the emotions. And it doesn't really matter from where it's coming from and what kind of situation happened, and or who do we hate or who do we don't like or don't want to accept in our life. It always comes to kind of like toxicity of our brain and our body. Like, our brain doesn't understand that there is another person. My brain doesn't really understand that there is Joanna, that there is my kids, there is anybody else. If I feel something, my body will feel that. It's gonna be just that my body will have all those side effects of the anger, hate, and all of those hard emotions. So by releasing them from my body, using the recall healing method, where we're changing the perspective, when we're looking like, what did I really gain from this situation, from the spiritual level sometimes. And it's not about, like, I forgive you and I'm just like letting it go and do whatever you want to do. If we have to pull up the earthly consequences, we're going and doing it. But it's for us to find a peace and just to release. So radical forgiveness is one of the methods I'm using. Also the EFT, also all kind of like meditations when we're just like releasing, working with your family tree, when we're just like touching the ancestral line, when we're trying to like bow in front of them and telling them that, hey, listen, thank you. Thank you for everything you went through, because I'm here, standing here today in front of you, thanks to you guys, for with everything, what was good, what was bad. I'm just accepting it without judgment, because it's not about like judging anybody. It's not about opinionating anybody, because we always, unless we're psychopathic like personality, but we always do everything what's best with the resources we have. At this moment, we have this kind of knowledge. If I would knew that I'm gonna fall, I wouldn't go there. But at the same time, if I wouldn't fall, something next wouldn't happen. Same as with the Dr. Hammer.
Always about learning. So, I feel
Absolutely,
like
about the
whatever comes
process.
to us, it's always about learning. You
Absolutely.
always leave the situation smarter.
Yes, we always like
something
ask,
what's
like,
necessary.
what happened? Why did it happen? What did it give to me? What the situation is bringing to my life? What's my gains? Even from the worst situations. Sometimes it's like, it's very hard, because like whether it's a rape or some kind of like really hard traumas that we might have, it's hard for us to find what's good behind that. And that I created this situation, just going even deeper, right? But even opening ourselves for the possibility that there is something bigger than we, already making a change, a lot of like changes, like seeing the situation that, okay, my issues, my programs are from my mom, from the time when she was pregnant with me, with everything what she was going through. Maybe it was too hard for her to have a child. Maybe she wasn't ready for me, or maybe she wanted to have a boy and there was a girl born. Many reasons. But that might cause what happening with me in this life. Do I really want to carry that? I don't. It's not even mine. So by teaching our brain, by changing the subconsciously that we are allowed to let go, they just change the quality of life. We're like really healing and speeding up the healing process. That's why working on those kind of modalities together with the regular medical like pathway, how we supposed to go, that's the best solution. Just to put them all together and just like for walking on the same pathway, supporting each other, not to blame that was your fault or you just did something wrong, but just working together for the good of the patient. But
so would you say that your ultimate patient is someone who is already going through some trouble? He's already in some healing process. How this is mostly some I would say some direction for you to really step in and support this patient with recovery? Or
That's
is
right. Because
there,
usually the
who would you
patients when I
recommend
work,
it for?
because usually when I work like with the patients one-on-one, those are who are coming really with the diagnosis or with the issues. But we also
Okay.
do the workshops when we try to educate and like to teach what's coming from where, what kind of like what's the disease mean, what kind of what's underlying underneath the disease, what kind of conflicts about the phases. So I also do some workshops that they are educational workshops just to teach people where does it coming from. So those are two types of the people who I work with, either on a group project when we just like to teach and educate about the empirical healing, but also like usually the individual patients are those who are coming with a diagnosis or with the conflict, like with the issue or the conflicts already.
Okay, so one more question because we're slowly approaching the end. Where can we find you, and then how can you be contacted? Do you have a website, or what's the best way to reach you?
I do have a website, so it's I am Enough Holistic Therapy. That's my Facebook website. I'm also on the Instagram. I have to be very honest with you. For me, all this like online thing, it's very something new. I'm not like going into like internet and like going into the
You're
Facebook or
perfect
the
here. You're
yet.
perfect here. You have such a gift of speaking that, I feel it's just a matter of time that you're gonna be everywhere.
Thank you, but
Yeah.
usually it's like the word of mouth. This is something what really works because one person just telling another that this is something what existing. For me, this is a huge mystery, honest to God, because like Gilbert Renaud, he's living in Canada for years. This is we're not talking about like 5 years or
He's Quebecois, yes?
yes.
He's in Quebec, no?
Right now he's living in Vancouver, but he
Okay.
was from the Quebec originally from Montreal. But for years, he's teaching about this method for years. And there's like really when I was even checking when I was like learning about this method and when I was checking the therapist because I was like seeking for maybe the people who are working with this method in Canada so I can just meet with them, maybe I can learn from them. There's really like people
Yeah, it's
who
very
maybe on the
popular
one
in
hand
Poland, I know.
there's
Yes.
none. And for me, that's a huge mystery. And this is kind of like I was thinking like we just really have to go out to those people and just like start speaking about that because this is not a hocus pocus. This is not something that you can just fool. This is a pure biology. This is a pure solution of your brain coming to the end when it comes to the disease. So having this knowledge, changing the perspective, it can really save lives. Why won't we do that? Why this is like treated as a mystery? There is a tons of books, there is a tons of like resources that we can really actually touch, but many times we don't even know that something like that exists.
Especially with the sicknesses which are coming back. Like we talked last time about cancer, when
Yes.
the cancer is coming, everybody's okay, it's coming back, or it's just appearing somewhere else. But it's because in the first instance, it wasn't really resolved. Like the situation was really not coming to the surface, and then it's still in subconscious, so it's still not really free.
Yes.
Yes, and then why I actually asked about Quebec, because funny, I was yesterday reading an article about how popular total biology is actually now in Quebec, and what
Yes.
I found that it was actually kind of counteractive because they suggested that it is a modality which is putting people in danger, because they are dropping the treatments, they are not taking the chemo, they resign from many uh, conventional medicine treatments. But the point is that I feel like there is exactly the lack of education. The point is that we have to combine them all and not really resign and then without having a preparation just go into a modality which is completely new. And we need to have a faith as well. No, we need to have a faith, because the faith is many times actually making us healthy. It's the placebo effect. So
Absolutely.
I feel like it's quite important to really underline that we want those new modalities which are getting stronger and more popular to be really connected with those conventional ways of healing our body. So it is really working very well, because whatever you suggest, I feel it's more on the level of the mind,
Mhm.
of the subconscious mind, where we need support of the physical body at the same
Absolutely.
time as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it has to go in one, like we're not separate. We just cannot like separate our psyche from our body, from our brain. We are all together. We're holistic. That's why the Dr. Hammer was talking about this like triad, about this the rocket, that we are connected. Everything comes from one to the another. Like our automatic brain completely like talks about our body, and our automatic brain just listens what's going on in our psyche. So everything is connected, and to really release something, we really have to like touch on all those levels, on the spiritual level, on the biological level, on the from the body. Like we really have to release the trauma from the body, because we have something what's called the cellular memory. That's why we are gaining those ancestral trauma and the transgeneral traumas into our life. Because when you have a seed that it's, let's say, the sunflower seed, if you're going to plant it, it's still going to grow the sunflower. It's not going to be a rose. We do have all those informations in our genes. We do have all those information in our cells. So we carry them. So that's why it's so important to release this from the cellular level, from our body, just to go and do. And there's tons of the methods right now. There's tons of modalities. The curiosity, that's what's the most important. The
And
open mind,
intuition. I
intuition, and
feel
open heart.
intuition
That I'm
is the key.
absolutely that I'm going for. I'm gonna try. It doesn't mean that it has to help me or it's gonna be best for me. I need to listen to my heart. I need to like follow my intuition and my soul. Where is it guiding me? But the curiosity and just asking what's more, what I can try, where I can go, what I can still like. Maybe there's something more, why this is happening. And if something doesn't work for me, because I do also have a clients who are working for years already. I mean, the traditional psychotherapies, like working with the doctors, like even being with me, when we are working, trying to reach out to the deep emotions and the conflicts. But then there's also something what we call like that we don't really want to get healthy. That there is this conflict that
The
it's keeping us
resistance.
from getting healthy, because we really don't want to get there, because there's the disease sometimes is the only thing what we have, or just giving us so many benefits and gains that we
The
don't want to
payout.
drop that. So we're going to do we're pretending that we're doing everything, but on the subconscious level, we're still so connected, and we really love this disease. We don't want to let it go, because let's say I never had the attention that I got right now. I can do and I can blame. I cannot take the responsibility for so many things because I'm sick. I'm tired. I'm doing this. I have all those side effects. I have those symptoms of my body that I can't reach for more, that it's giving me a gain. Or maybe I can blame somebody, or maybe I can be in the victim world for so long because I am sick. So you have to carry all my heaviness so I can blame you. So we need to look on many levels and many layers. Working with the recall healing is just one of the methods that I'm using in my work. Like having the background I do have, it's just giving me the possibility that I can see a little bit more from many levels, and we can kind of, it's like, with this onion, right? When you just like peel it piece after the piece and layer after layer, it doesn't really mean that if I already touched something, it doesn't mean that it's healed completely, because sometimes even years, months after, like we just like start feeling something that it was connected to the same situation that we were working on already. But that's okay. It means that you are ready right now to touch this deeper level, because many times we're not ready to touch so much, because it will be just crazy for our brain. It would just like kill us. It wouldn't be able to like process everything at once. So that's it's even with
word
the
humble comes to me. We really want to be humble, especially
yes,
it's really working towards our best when we are able to look deep into those, exactly what you were just talking about. Sometimes we feel sickness is something what allows us to really finally have what we always wanted. So we prefer
yes.
to be sick than really
My
get
teacher, Michelle,
into
she
the
was always
position.
saying
Yes.
it's a progress, not perfection. There's no magic pill that you're gonna like take and everything is gonna be solved. There's no magic anything, or the 10-day therapy that it's gonna like change your life, or 10 steps or something else. It doesn't exist. This is the work till the last breath. This is the journey that we will be like experiencing every single day of our life until the last breath. So being curious and being like very humble, as you said, just being open for whatever it's in front of me still and what I have to face will give us the different approach that we're not fighting with it, but we're looking, why did it happen to me? What's the
And there is
reason
more
behind
peace,
that?
you know, every time we are humble enough to look into those wounds. And then even the next one, we, like you said, that the work is never ending. But every time we actually are able to allow ourselves the information to be absorbed and then processed and then really released, because the release is important. I feel this is something what is really making us lighter. We actually are, even if something is coming up, we are considering this situation from completely different perspectives. So there is some lightness. Anyway,
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because
more and
that's the
more.
skills that we are gaining instead of like the automatical reaction. We're
Hmm.
finally like start to being like responsible and thinking how I do want to like react for the situation. We're not going from the automatic like brain when it was like action reaction because we were working on those like coping mechanisms for years. If we're gonna start like understanding them and taking what's still aligning with me, what's still working in my adulthood life, it's getting me, it's gonna change the quality of my life because like the challenges are still gonna be facing us. It doesn't mean that if you were on a therapy or if you just work on something, your life will be just pure and beautiful and full of, you know, like the lights and the fireworks right now. No, it's not. We will be challenged, but we will be approaching those challenges differently. And if I was laying down and being in depression for a weeks, maybe right now it's gonna take me days to
Mm.
get better and just like again stand up on my feet and being in my life. So that's why this work is so important. That's why we just want to change the quality of our life and having the knowledge that whatever I released, whatever I changed in my life already right now, it will never be passed further to our kids, to our grandchildren. There's no better motivation. This is always like
Mm.
just kneels everybody down and they know that they're doing the good job because this is something what really like motivates us because we want to have best life for our kids. We just want to do everything
And
for them.
and then it seems to me that the recall healing is pretty versatile. Like there are really so many different direction combined in one modality that it can really touch many levels which we are sometimes even not considering. I have one more question, and before we end, do you recommend any books if someone would like to maybe read more about before they decide that they would like to see you? What do you recommend?
Absolutely. Like the first, like the encyclopedia of the recall healing. If you want to just go and touch something, that's an amazing book that I'm using, the alignments and diseases. It's the Jacques Martel. It's just telling exactly about the conflicts behind the diseases.
Hmm.
So that's amazing, something what I really recommend.
But something
Yeah,
general, like let's say if someone would like to read more, only what is available on internet is always, I would say, a little bit patchy. So if you have a specific book in mind
for sure.
which talks about
I
recalling.
would I would go and touch the Gabor Mate's book, When the Body Wants to Talk, and like all those kind of like stories. Also the Journey, Brandon Base. That's a beautiful book. I'll show you. It's about the therapist who just went through her journey with her disease and how she
Okay.
exactly like worked on her emotions and how she went to her root cause. So her story is beautiful because she basically developed, she was coaching, she was an amazing person, she was very well known in States, she was like traveling and like teaching people and coaching, and finally she's finding out that she has a huge tumor in her belly area to the point that it was as huge as a watermelon. So when she went
Mm.
to the doctor, of course, like the traditional medicine was like telling her just to go for the operation, for the surgery, just go and remove everything. But she knew that there has to be something more, and there's something more that she can do before she would like decide and go for the
Yeah.
surgery. So she asked for 3 months to work with herself before she will decide to go to the surgery. So there is a beautiful story of her life, how she exactly did the journey, how she was working with her emotions, how she was dealing with everything, and how she found out the layers, what's underneath, what's even lower and what's lower. And the long story short, she basically, from the watermelon size, she went to the small apple size of the tumor. When she went after those 3 months to the doctor, she just healed herself completely. And like her journey is a beautiful example of how to work and how the emotions are causing the disease and how working with them can speed up the healing process.
So now, after the conversation with you, we know that this is the second process of the healing. Is this the second part, the hot part when the body is starting to release the tumor?
Phase? Yes.
So I learned I learned correctly. Yes, and then what we want to do, we just want to allow everything to come to the surface.
Absolutely.
So I would say, what will be one message which you would like to leave with anyone who was or will listen to us?
Changing the perspective, be curious. There's no deadly disease, and there's always a reason why this disease is showing up in our life, and just be curious and look for this reason, because then we can just go deep and even deeper and dive in and just find a beautiful solution and change the quality of our life. So just be curious and just don't think that you can die, you can do anything, that there's nothing in your power. Just go get back the power in your hands and just start listening to yourself. Because how many times, if somebody, even the doctors or any kind of experts, if they are telling us something, to just do something, or you have to follow something, and when you have this gut feelings inside you, and like that there's something doesn't align with you and doesn't line up, listen to this feeling. Because that's the first moment when your body is reacting and telling you, hey, don't go there, because I got a better solution for you. We have those feelings. Those are those intuition. And this is the real God's voice that I believe, that it's giving you this intuition. Listen to it. Just follow your steps. Just follow what you feel and trust yourself more.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Isa, for today. Really, it was like always a pleasure to talk to you. I will recall one more information: release all the emotion which comes up, so there is no trauma and there is nothing following after the trauma.
Absolutely.
So any emotion which comes to us has to go. So has to be seen and has to be released. Thank you again for everything today.
I also work with children. I do have my own kids. Like I have 3 children. They are still pretty small.
I know, and you have the school.
Yes. But they are like, the children are the best teachers for us, and they are amazing teachers when it comes to the emotions. Like, when the child is crying, it just like the whole world is just like crushed down. Like he just laying down, cries, nothing else exists. But in the moment when you're gonna show him something and just gonna just change the direction, he just like puts the smile on his face right away, like without remembering what even caused the cry just a few seconds before. This is the beautiful example how we supposed to release the emotions and just let them flow through us without keeping them, because like the emotions, they do have the natural ability of flowing through us. It's just our brain, our head, when it's creating the story and coming back to those emotions. Because like our brain, even if it's symbolical, when we're just like repeating all those stories, it just thinks that it's happening right now in the real time. That's why I'm not a huge fan of being in this trauma and like talking over and over too much. It's more about like touching the root, the cause, sometimes a very hard situation and very hard emotions and very painful situations, but just to touch them so you can acknowledge them, so you can let it go. Just to notice them, because like how when you have like a huge wound and you're gonna put the beautiful bandage on top without cleaning it, even if it's from gold, there's still going to be a wound inside, and there's going to be bacteria, and it's going to be like giving you the pain, even though it's covered. So by uncovering it, clearing it, and like touching it and like allowing it to heal, everything is going to be okay. You will not go back and you will not feel it. There might be a scar. It's going to leave a mark in your life because that was what you experienced, but it's not going to cause you a pain. That's why this is so important. Just allow the emotions to flow. Just acknowledge. It's not we were raised in the society where, as a girls especially, we're not supposed to cry. Like, you're supposed to be a good girl. You're supposed to, like, just be some kind of, like, just for the
Smile.
following the
You're supposed to smile.
rules. Boys are strong. You're supposed to be pretty. All those, like, stereotypes, right? So we were taught so many times that we're not supposed to show our emotions. It's something that it's not pleasant, that especially if our parents were not reacting well when we were showing certain emotions, because they couldn't deal with that. And especially even as a mom, I can see what's happening to me when my kids are crying. It makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me to feel like I don't know how to react. So I just want them to stop crying right away, because it's going to make me feel better that it's okay. Everything's okay. My brain doesn't freak out. But we need to cry. We need to, like, allow our body and ourselves to really feel those, like, negative emotions, those, like, emotions that are heavier for us, even though we're not supposed to say the emotions are good or bad. But those heavier emotions, we need to allow ourselves to feel them. And there's nothing wrong if we're mad, if we're angry. Anger is actually good. If it's not suppressed too
Very
much.
constructive emotion, like it's really creating us
Absolutely.
and helping us to really change our trajectory in our lives many times. So
Absolutely.
definitely.
But if it's suppressed and kept, then it's gonna, like, it's gonna be fused,
It
like
will destroy us. Of course, yes.
absolutely.
100%. Yes, 100%. Thank you again, Isa. So much love to you, and then I hope that I see you again soon.
Oh, for
All the
sure.
best. And then if I would say if any information, I can just post it under the live, but I would say there is a contact to you directly. So if anybody is interested in
Absolutely.
reaching out to you and have a session of recall healing, or even learn about recall healing and total biology during your workshops, we invite you. We invite
Absolutely.
you. Thank you
Thank you
again
so
for
much,
watching.
Joanna.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for
Have a
this
great night. Thank
conversation
you.
today. Yeah, you too,
Bye.
Sunshine. Have a good
Have
night. Bye bye.
a good night. Bye bye.